Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. With the recent surge in unaccompanied minors crossing the border into the U.S., speakers and participants at the 2014 National Migration Conference being held in Washington talked about some possible solutions and ways to address the needs of these children. In an interview with Catholic News Service, Cardinal Oscar Maradiaga, Archbishop of Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and President of Caritas Internationalis, which is the Church's global relief agency, said these children should be treated as refugees.
As the Obama administration develops a plan of how to deal with more than 50,000 Central American children who have been apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border, a Honduran cardinal suggests they should be treated as refugees.
I think it's important and it should be like that. Why? We have refugees from other parts of the country because there is war, there is violence, there are killings. There's no future for opening the eyes in peace to plan their own lives. I was recently in Caritas serving the refugees of Syria in Jordan. And of course, it was very sad to see even professionals saying, of course, we live in a camp here, but we do not have right to work, not even to drive a car. We are just like vegetables here. And it's very sad because dignity of the human person needs work. And work is a way of growing yourself and building your family. When this right is denied, so the human person is diminished, and this is happening elsewhere.
Looking now at news from the Vatican. At a press conference this past week, Cardinal George Pell, prefect of the Vatican Secretariat for the Economy, announced several changes in the Institute for the Works of Religion, commonly called the Vatican Bank. One of the changes affects the administration of the patrimony of the Apostolic See. Rome Reports has more on these changes.
The administration for the patrimony of the Apostolic See, or APSA, will have a reduced role in the Vatican's new financial landscape. In essence, it will become the treasury or central bank for the Holy See and the Vatican City-State. Up until the announced reforms, APSA had two divisions. The extraordinary section managed a large sovereign fund, tracing back to the Lateran Accords, where Italy agreed to compensate the Vatican financially for its loss of territory. Meanwhile, the ordinary section managed the Vatican's massive real estate holdings, but it also provided funds necessary for the Roman Curia to function. Basically, APSA decided how and where the money was spent.
The Holy Father has published a motu proprio transferring the ordinary section of APSA into the Secretariat for the Economy, so that the Secretariat can better exercise its responsibilities for economic control and vigilance over the agencies of the Holy See.
As the newly created Secretariat absorbs the economic decision-making branch of APSA, its leader, Cardinal George Pell, hired a familiar face to help with a smooth transition, the former business manager from the Archdiocese of Sydney. According to the motu proprio, APSA's remaining services, managing real estate holdings and the sovereign fund, will merge under one department. The new structure will solidify its role as the Vatican's central bank.
More news now from the Vatican. According to Vatican spokesman Jesuit Father Federico Lombardi, Pope Francis will pay a brief private visit to the Italian church of a Pentecostal pastor he knows from Argentina. The visit is still being studied, but would likely take place on July 26th at the Evangelical Church of the Reconciliation in Caserta, about 130 miles south of Rome. Father Lombardi said the Pope knew the church's pastor, Giovanni Trattino, from Buenos Aires, where the Pentecostal pastor participated in ecumenical events with Catholics, especially belonging to the charismatic renewal movement. One other note from the Vatican, as we reported earlier this week, Pope Francis met privately with 6 victims of clergy sexual abuse at the Vatican, holding a special mass and spending about a half hour with each person. Jesuit Father Hans Zollner, a German psychologist and psychotherapist and a member of the new Pontifical Commission for the Protection of Minors, accompanied 2 abuse survivors from Germany. He talked with Rome Reports about the day and what it meant for the victims to be there.
For Father Hans Zollner, the Mass Pope Francis presided for victims of sexual abuse, and his lengthy one-on-one meetings were more than kind gestures. These meetings were of a truly great human and spiritual depth. They have certainly impacted the victims, and we can probably say that it also impacted the Holy Father. The German priest, a member of the Commission for the Protection of Minors, served as the interpreter for 2 of the 6 victims. He said the Pope spoke little and listened closely to their stories. Near the end, one of the victims asked him to never forget what he just heard. Most striking was the atmosphere. An atmosphere, like one of the victims described it, of sensibility, listening, and great respect. This atmosphere carried on from the night before, when Pope Francis briefly greeted several of the victims during dinner time at Casa Santa Marta. One of the victims made a small gesture with his hand, and when he saw the Pope, he took the time to greet them briefly. He went around the table, greeting members of the Commission and victims. Several victims chose to attend the meeting with the Pope, joined by a family member or friend. Some shared their stories, while others chose to have a more informal conversation. Overall, the majority said the meeting was worth their time.
And finally in the news, in a message marking Sea Sunday 2014, Cardinal Antonio Maradiaga, president of the Pontifical Council for Migrants and Travelers, said the life of a seafarer is not as romantic and adventurous as is sometimes shown in films and novels. He said it's difficult and dangerous, not only because of storms, but also because of the ongoing risk of piracy and instances of crews being abandoned without wages, food, or protection in foreign ports. Along with these dangers, the Cardinal said that long hours and homesickness are a seafarer's constant companion. The Pontifical Council for Migrants and Travelers, the Apostleship of the Sea, and Stella Maris centers in ports around the globe celebrate Sea Sunday, July 13th. Catholics around the world are asked to remember in their prayers the 1.2 million seafarers around the world working in risky conditions far from their families. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.